Welcome back to Critically Incorrect, your weekly game podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, or online, here today with Charlie. If you wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, pretty cool week. We got quite a bit to talk about, and we got some viewer questions for the end. So thank you for submitting those. And then if you want any questions answered, make sure to, either go to our Discord server and ask there, or like these gentlemen did in the comment section down below. But with that being said, we always start off these podcasts with what we've been playing. So Charlie, take it away.
Yeah, it's mainly more of the same to be honest from what I was playing last week. So, more Apex Legends, which I'm surprised I've been playing more of that, but yeah, more Apex. Some more MultiVersus as well. Me and Braden actually played a bit last night, which was a lot of fun. We got some dumb moments. There's a fun clip that if you're on the Discord, you can you can
Yeah.
have a look at that on the memes page. But yeah, so that's been pretty fun playing a bit more of that. I've also been playing Project Winter with some friends from work. So, if you don't know what Project Winter is, it's kind of like Among Us, but you're basically trapped in like this snowy like map. So you've got to like eat and stay with warmth to survive. But there's like a killer among you. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Your basic goal is just to escape. But that's been quite fun with a big group of us. So played a decent amount of that. I did end up picking up Cult of the Lamb in the end. I only played a couple hours of it because I played it last weekend and then I was pretty busy at the start of the week, so I haven't had a chance to go back and play any of that. But I did really enjoy those couple hours I did play, so definitely gonna try and play some more of that. And then I eventually did redeem or like upgrade my PS Plus to premium. Um, just because I was really interested in trying Rollerdrome and I saw it had the trial with premium, and I also kind of wanted to give Stray a go, but I didn't want to buy it for full price. I could upgrade for I think it was like £15 or something for the rest of the year, so I was like, well, that's cheaper than me buying Stray on its own. Plus, I'll get a couple games here and there, so I might as well. So I ended up getting the upgrade. I haven't played Stray yet, but I've played a couple hours of Roller Drome because I played the trial, I really enjoyed it, and ended up picking up the game. So I've played a couple more hours since then. It's really fun. It does get kind of challenging later on when you try and do some of the like bonus challenges and stuff, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. It hits a lot of like the Tony Hawk kind of vibes, which you don't get too many of those kind of games. So that's been quite fun. But I think that's it for me this week.
Nice, right on. I've played a decent amount, nothing crazy, but like you, I did try out Roller Dome or Roller Drome. Sorry. Uh, yeah, I've only put the trial. I haven't purchased the game yet, but I'm pretty much sold on it. I'll probably pick it up. I'm still debating on it just because obviously I am playing like a ton at the moment, so it's always like a gamble there. But I do love how different it feels. It's like such a different game. We always complain about how there's like a lot of similarity in the industry. Like Roller Drum is such a fresh experience. I love it. You kind of summed it up well. It's like Tony Hawk in a way, where it's like such a rhythm-based game where you're doing like tricks, but you're also trying to line up shots and stuff like that. It's very very fun. So yeah, definitely go check that out. Besides that, I did start up Yakuza 0. I played like the first 45 minutes of that just because I was bored, honestly, one night. I was like, I'll probably stay up for like an extra hour. And I was like, what am I going to do? Don't feel like watching Breaking Bad, so I'll try out Yakuza 0. And yeah, Yakuza 0 is interesting. So far, I really like the characters. The game has like a annoying spot in the fact that it's one of those games where you can only save manually at certain locations. So it's like very much like a PS2 era like game. I'm not at. But that's like the only thing else. Besides that, like the combat's pretty satisfying. Obviously, I'm fairly early on, so I've only had like tutorial fights so far. The game is very cutscene heavy so far, which is pretty cool. But yeah, definitely want to play more of it. I know I've only heard good things about the Yakuza series, so yeah, we'll see if I can manage to put some more time into that one this week. Besides that, just more multiverses, like you said, we played some of that. I did check out Fortnite when they did the Goku collaboration or Dragon Ball collaboration, whatever. Uh, and then I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to the releases this week. We already talked about one of them. That's Roller Drone. So yeah, by I think Team 17 or Roll 17, whatever that team's called. I believe it's the same developer that makes the Ollie Ollie games. So yeah, obviously this was the game that was announced like a few months back at that PlayStation Plus State of Play. I want to say, could be wrong, but I believe it was announced there. And yeah, definitely go check that out if it interests you. And then besides that, Thymesia is another game that's out this week, and I was actually confused about that, but I remember seeing like one clip of it on Twitter, and it's this new Souls like game that's out. Um, Team 17 is the publisher, by the way. Actually, I should have said that earlier. But the developer here is Over Border Studio. So yeah, I don't know them from any past previous games. I'm looking at their Steam page now. It looks like they did Neon Abyss, maybe. Let's see here. Steam always has like a weird thing where they do like a bunch of publisher pages, but not really for the developers. So it's always hard to see what the developer
I
actually made.
think this
But
is their first game. I
yeah,
think.
okay. I'm gonna say I don't remember them doing Neon Abyss. So yeah, Thymesia should be their first game then. Yeah. Uh, I've seen people compare it to Bloodborne and Sekiro. So if you like the Souls games that are more quicker paced, this sounds like it might be up your alley. It's currently on sale for like 22.50 on Steam, at least for us in America. So yeah, if that go, if that this sounds like something you'd enjoy, if you're a big Souls like fan, definitely go check it out. I might go check it out honestly after this, even though I'm still playing Elden Ring, just because it does sound interesting. I know they have like a plague kind of concept on that, which kind of makes it stick out on its own, which is cool. So yeah, are you planning on picking up Thymesia? Have you seen any footage of it, Charlie?
Like you, I've seen a couple bits on Twitter. I haven't really looked into it too much. Um, I might end up playing a little bit at work because one of the guys I work with, his one of his mates works at Team 17, so he usually gets a lot of free codes for their stuff. So he might end up playing that, and I'll have a look into it then. But I've got so much to play. I've got Elden Ring and haven't even touched it, so like, um, I'm probably not going to be picking up any like Souls like games anytime soon, but it does look cool. I think it's getting decent reviews as well. So
Yeah, it seems to be pretty positively responded so far, which is cool. But yeah, I guess that leaves us to the gaming news section, which is always the bulk of our podcast. We'll start off with some pretty big headliners here. You probably have seen Embracer Group mentioned quite a bit on Twitter this week, and that's because they've been on like a hiring spree, even more, or I guess acquiring speed rather. Yeah, these ones are pretty big because they acquired the rights for the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movie licenses for things like the games. I know a lot of this was also mentioned because MultiVersus, with like the thing to launch of season one, removed a lot of the Lord of the Rings references in their files. So people are thinking possibly this has something to do with it. Either way, that's huge, right? Embracer Group obviously is, I think, the biggest company in Europe in terms of gaming because like they honestly like own a ton of studios at this point. Yeah, like a lot of people don't know them by name, but they're always like the business side of things and have like a lot of the more public facing companies underneath them. So yeah, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit obviously huge gets, especially with the Lord of the Rings having that new Amazon series. I'm sure they're gonna do more stuff with the games. But yeah, that's pretty huge. They also acquire limited run games, which yeah, they obviously do like the physical releases for a lot of those digital only releases. So, yeah, pretty interesting acquire there. Didn't see that coming, but still cool nonetheless. Obviously, a lot of people don't like the fact that they are acquiring a lot because a lot of people don't like the fact that the industry seems to be consolidating to like these huge ass companies. Yeah, we've seen a lot of acquisitions this year, obviously with PlayStation and Bungie and more Xbox and Activision stuff. And yeah, just this is more of the same. So, Charlie, what is your thoughts on all that?
yeah, I'm kind of mixed on like the Lord of the Rings thing. Like it's a cool thing purely because we don't get too many games based on the movie license specifically. Because the thing is, I think they acquired, I think it's like Middle Earth Entertainment or Enterprise, something like that. Which is basically the movie side of things. So, say if they were to make a game based off the TV show or the books, that wouldn't come under this rights thing, so it wouldn't be part of Embracer because it's like a separate thing. But what this does mean is you'll probably never get like another Shadow of Mordor type game because those were part of the movie license. So that'll probably never get a third game if there were as whatever plans. Obviously, they're working on Wonder Woman at the moment, so who knows about that one. So yeah, I'm kind of mixed just because it hopefully means we're gonna get more based on the movie stuff. But at the same time, it sucks that it'll only be studios that are gonna be owned by Embracer. Um, as for limited run, I don't know too much about them. Obviously, they do all like the physical game releases, right? For stuff that doesn't typically get physical release. So it's an interesting acquisition, a bit more different to what they normally do. But I mean, it's them just trying to stretch out into more parts of the industry, right? Um, I don't know if did you mention the KOTOR thing?
I did not. You want to introduce that?
Yeah. So obviously we mentioned, was it last week, that KOTOR was or Knights of the Old Republic was basically being put on hold in some fashion, because of issues going on at Aspire, and it seemed because Saber Interactive, who were also under Embracer, were helping make that game. It seems like maybe they were given the project, during this like shareholder meeting. It seems like they've basically confirmed that that is what's going on. They didn't say KOTOR by name, but they basically said a major IP is being shifted from another studio, but they don't expect there to be any delays in its production doing that. Um, I've seen like mixed stuff online about what that means. Some people are thinking it's still coming out relatively soon. I'm like, no, like Jason Schreier was pretty clear that like it was nowhere near release, and that's one of the reasons why there was this shift in development. So, um, I wonder, like, we're gonna talk about it later on. I wonder if it'll show up at this Disney showcase or not. Because they did mention like Lucasfilm Games is gonna be at this Disney thing, and I don't know if maybe KOTOR will be part of it. I think it's too soon to show gameplay, and personally, if I was them, I'd just wait now until they're ready to show actual gameplay of it. So I would wait, but who knows? Like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so maybe they're ready to. But it's cool to see that it doesn't look like the game is just being left behind, right? They've just moved it onto somebody else, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't expect to see it next week, or not next week, but in a few weeks at that Disney Marvel showcase, which we'll talk about at the end of the episode. Um, just because obviously this seems like it has development hell, and I don't think you'd be promoting a game that's in development hell, but who knows, honestly, maybe they could throw out something. Obviously, shifting developers is probably the biggest substantial delay you could see. Obviously, we saw that with Metroid Prime 4, switching developers to back to what's that studio called in Texas?
Retro.
Retro Studios, yeah. Um, I personally wouldn't expect it. I'd be very surprised if we do. Yeah, people thinking this isn't going to see a substantial delay, that's just PR talk. Yeah, I mean, these companies aren't going to publicly say, "Oh yeah, we're currently going through development issues with like so and so game." They're not just going to hide that, right? So yeah, this definitely is more than what is being said to be. Um, and I personally wouldn't expect to see it anytime soon if this is to be believed, which seems like it is. But yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to the next news story, and this one actually just happened like minutes before we started recording this. Apparently, Sony is in the talks to start a new Days Gone movie. So currently, they have the Outlander's Sam Heughan, I believe is how you pronounce his name, as to be featured into the movie, and then Sheldon Turner is adapting it. So, yeah, obviously Days Gone sold really well. This game always was like a game that sold really well, but PlayStation didn't greenlight the sequel because of its, I imagine, critical reception. Obviously, it was like very mediocre, I guess. Like, not really, but like compared to their other games, is mediocre, I guess you could say. Obviously, there's a lot of people that really enjoyed it, but yeah, I'm just looking at the article here. Like, Days Gone, I don't know. I don't think this would be a really good idea for a movie adaptation just because I feel like it's going to be super generic. Like, Days Gone as a concept of the game is really fun because obviously you're able to fight like these massive hordes, and it was something a little bit different from like any other zombie game, especially the biking angle. But I feel like if you just see this adapted into like a movie, it's just going to come across super generic. Like, I feel like I've seen this movie 1,000 times before. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe it'll be really cool. I also agree with you, Charlie, in the fact that they should just get what's his name? Sam Witwer, whatever.
Yeah.
The actor that played Deacon in the original game's performance to play Deacon in the film. I don't know why they don't do that. I guess, obviously, they want bigger names or people with stunt, capabilities or whatnot. But, yeah, it's just super bizarre. Either way, I imagine your thoughts are similar to mine, but what is your thoughts on this project, rumored in development?
Yeah, again, like you, I think this is a really weird project to adapt. Not because the game is necessarily bad, but like you said, the concept is quite generic, and I just don't see it standing out in the movie space, right? Like, if I was a casual or like moviegoer and I saw the trailer for Days Gone, um, I'd probably just be like, okay, it's just a generic zombie movie, with a bigger budget behind it. So I'm not expecting much from it. I also think it's really weird if the film is an adaptation of the game and has the same characters. I think it's weird that you wouldn't have Sam Witwer in the lead role. And I saw some people on Twitter kind of saying like, "Oh, it's because it's a blockbuster movie and they need a big name to be able to actually like show off the movie and stuff." But at the same time, like, I've never heard of this guy that's in the lead.
Same.
So, like, I wouldn't really say he's a big actor. Um, and Sam, has done stuff in live action stuff before. Obviously, he's more known for his voice acting, but he has appeared on screen before. Um, and, he did all the mocap, the facial capture, the voice acting. He did everything for Days Gone. So it's weird that they wouldn't use him. Um, so yeah, a weird one. I'm interested to see how this turns out, but um, yeah, out of all the Sony properties, this is like the weirdest thing for them to kind of go ahead with, especially because it's not like a franchise I see them revisiting. So it's not like one where I can see they're gonna make the movie right and then hope that they're gonna sell more units of the game, because I'm sure they would. But like, it's not like they're gonna have a sequel in production that they can have around the same time. Whereas everything else they've got in production right now, there's going to be new games and stuff coming out. So obviously, God of War, the sequel's about to come out. Horizon, they'll be working on a third game. You've got the VR game as well. Um, was it Last of Us? They're probably going to be doing more Last of Us. You've got the multiplayer thing. Uncharted, there's inevitably going to be something else. Um, and like Twisted Metal's meant to have like a new game to tie in with the show. So it's a weird choice out of all the properties. I don't know why they've gone with this one, but who knows? I guess maybe it's just a really good pitch behind the scenes, but yeah, a weird one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Sony been working on a new IP, like that's pretty much been confirmed
Yeah.
now. Super bizarre. I'm guessing they're just trying to tap into, like, I'm sure there's money in the zombie, movie business, right? There's probably a lot of people that just like enjoy that type of movie. Obviously, the vocal minority will say like, another zombie movie, but I'm sure these movies sell well. Probably something as simple as that at the end of the day. But yeah, we'll move on. Anyways, this next news story is going to be pretty quick. Just an update that A Plague Tale Requiem and Gotham Knights both have gone gold. Going gold just means that they finished the game and now they're like, starting to manufacture the disc. Obviously, in the era that day one patches are a thing, doesn't mean that much anymore, but still pretty much confirms that these games are not going to get delayed. Yeah, just because they're finished, right? So, pretty exciting stuff. Looking forward to both of these. A Plague Tale, I still need to finish the first one. But definitely exciting to see that Gotham Knights and A Plague Tale Requiem are both gone gold. Anything to say, Charlie? I know it's not really much. It's the same thing as always. Like
Yeah,
any delay.
like it's cool they've gone gold, right? Like they're not going to get delayed now. Although I say that the Cyberpunk got delayed after it went gold, so who knows?
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's true.
but yeah, are you going to be playing Plague Tale? Like,
Probably not,
yeah,
unless I
because I
somehow
still
beat
need
it, the
I
first one.
still need to beat the first one. Because I know it's on Game Pass on day one, but I feel like it's just coming out around when everything else is, and I'm just like,
I forgot
yeah,
this game was coming out. Not gonna lie. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I'll bring it up here as well since I know Plague Tale's on Game Pass. I did see as well that the new Squanch Games thing, so like Justin Roiland's new game, High on Life, that did get delayed.
Oh, that's right.
Um, so it's being delayed from I think like 23rd, 25th of October. I think it was the same day as Gotham Knights. It's getting delayed to like the 13th of December or something. So it's still this year, but they're just pushing it back a few months to just clean up the game a bit more. That one I'm actually really looking forward to. I hope that's good.
Is that the one with the talking gun?
Yeah, the talking guns and like the weird knife is like
Oh
the
my god.
like kind of open like first person shooter. I don't know. It looks unique and weird. Like I'm interested in it.
I need to try one of his games because I know he did Trover as well, I believe. So
Trover was
definitely.
good. It was pretty basic, but if you like that kind of like Rick and Morty humor, it's pretty good.
Did you play it in VR or flat?
I played it in VR, yeah, because I played it when it first came out.
Cool, cool. All right, and another news story with PlayStation, pretty quick one. Just the update that The Last is Part 1. Review embargo is going up on the 31st, so that's like 2 days before. Uh, yeah, I imagine it's that close because obviously it's like a remake, right? Although even saying that, people will get mad at you. But like, yeah, it's not like a new title. Like, there's not probably going to be much to say in terms of those reviews, and I'm sure they don't want the whole discussion of the whole $70 thing. So I guess that's why it's going to be super close to it. Um, yeah, I mean, it's also gone gold. I don't think we mentioned that a few weeks ago, but yeah, game's definitely going to hit on the 2nd of September. Any thoughts on that, Charlie?
Not really. I mean, like I imagine review wise, it's probably gonna do really well, right? Um, it is weird that it's so close. I feel like if I was Sony, I would have done it like the week before, because like if any game from Sony you want people to be less skeptical about, it's probably this, right? And normally their embargoes go up like a decent amount beforehand with Sony, so it's a weird one that it's so close. I have seen more and more footage go online. I know Tom Henderson has been leaking a lot of footage he's been sent of like gameplay and screenshots and stuff. And yeah, visually, I think it looks really impressive. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see what people have to say about it outside of Sony, right? So once those reviewers get their hands on it, what they think, and comparing it to like the original and stuff. So yeah, interested to see what people think.
For sure. Definitely ditto on that. I'm already picking it up just because, it's The Last of Us, right? And it's also just coming out like right next to my birthday. So, yeah, looking forward to that. I keep sort of forgetting that's coming out super soon. So, yeah, nice. Anyways, another cool news story that I liked reading was around Team Asobi, obviously the developers behind Astrobot. And yeah, apparently ever since, like, what was it called? Astro's Playroom back on the PS5 launch, they're ramping up development for their next game because they're expanding from 60 to 100 employees. This one's a little bit weird because obviously, I think a Team Asobi grew because Japan Studios also, I think, fell and like some of the developers moved over to Team Asobi. I could be wrong on that. But either way, like right now, as I stand, there's 60 employees and they're moving up to 100 very soon here. And they said that their next game is in production, which is pretty obvious, but it's going to be their biggest game yet. So to me, I imagine this is still probably going to be the PSVR 2 title, right? Like, I don't see in any world that they're not working on a PSVR 2 title, especially since in the same interview they said that they're always like still, currently focusing on like working on stuff with new hardware. Like, yeah, it's going to be a PSVR 2 title. It's going to be their biggest one yet. Probably going to be like a sequel to Rescue Mission or just like a new installment. Maybe they won't say 2, but they'll just have like Astrobots, whatever headline. And then this will be like a PSVR 2 title. Really looking forward to it, especially since like, Playroom did so well. I feel like they're gonna do definitely something really cool with it. There's always a chance that it's not like Astrobot based, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be kind of stupid to do something else that's not Astrobot just because he's so beloved, and I feel like they've nailed down that platformer so well, and it's like, yeah, for once PlayStation has had like a really good platformer in ages. It's been since like what, probably the PS2 since we've had that. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that, Charlie? Do you have any doubts in your mind what this next project is, or do you think it's just going to be simply a sequel to Rescue Mission?
Yeah, like you, I think it's just gonna be a launch title for PSVR 2. Probably a sequel to Rescue Mission. I imagine they'll probably drop the Astrobot name and it'll probably just be like Astros something to go more with Astro's Playroom, right? Just because obviously that would have had a much bigger player base than Rescue Mission. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like, I hope it's cool. Whether it'll be like a paid game or just like a tie-in thing, like you get it with the headset, I don't know. I could see it going either way. But it's cool to see they're ramping up with a lot more developers. I mean, that's a hefty employee count for a studio like Asobi. I was about to say Asobo, but they do Flight Sim. I always get confused between those two names. Um, but yeah, so it's cool to see. I'm looking forward to whatever they're doing next. But I imagine, like you said, it's probably a Rescue Mission sequel.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if they're gonna do two projects with that many employees, or if they're just gonna have 100 employees all working on a PSVR 2 game. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, definitely very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing this. Yeah. Anyways, a funny news story that happened, I think just today actually, was like a tweet from PC Xbox Game Pass, and it was the Death Stranding image. I think they've been teasing this over like the last day or two, but it was like confirmed today that Death Stranding is coming to Xbox Game Pass for PC. Kind of funny, obviously, because this was originally a PlayStation exclusive. Obviously, this is Xbox Game Pass for PC, not Xbox Game Pass like on the console, but still funny nonetheless. I imagine, obviously, they're currently working with Kojima on like that rumored cloud horror title, so they probably were just like, well, in discussions, like, hey, if you want like $1 million or something like that, we'd love to have Death Stranding on Game Pass. And he's like, sure, why not? Yeah, kind of funny. What are your thoughts on that, Charlie?
Yeah, it's a cool one to have on there just because more people get to play it, right? But yeah, it's weird that it's obviously on Game Pass PC and it's still not out on Xbox. Um, Whether it'll ever happen, I don't know. I doubt it, purely because Sony published it on console. So I assume there was some weird rights stuff going on there. But yeah, still funny to see.
Yep, definitely very funny. And speaking of PlayStation published sort of, licensing games coming to PC, same thing happened with Kenna today. It was announced that it's going to be coming to Steam on September 27th, so like literally just in a little over a month. They're also doing some cool stuff with it, and I believe PlayStation owners are also getting this. So they're adding New Game Plus in a new update. They're also adding like some new outfits and some stuff like that. So looks like the game's getting a small little update to get you back into the swing of things. There's like an article that PlayStation released that has like the full detail list of that. It's essentially just like an anniversary update since it's pretty much around like a year after the game initially came out. They probably had like a 1 year exclusivity deal with PlayStation, I'm sure, and that's running out. So now they're launching it on Steam, which is pretty cool to see. I really enjoyed Kenna. Yeah, it was just such a like nostalgic trip playing that last year because it felt like I was playing like a PS2 title. Like I've said this many times on the podcast, but I am not particularly a fan of the industry going into these large 20-hour games, like even single player games or like these large 20-hour games. Kenna was like I think like a 10-hour, 12-hour, probably 10-hour experience that was just really fun, simple. Yeah, just totally gave you the vibes of like the PS2 era. So I probably won't be replaying it just because there's so many games coming out this fall, but definitely really cool to see that it's getting some new love. Yeah, Charlie, what are your thoughts on that? Did you ever end up finishing kind of, by the way?
I didn't know. I never went back to it. I really should. I don't think I will anytime soon, just because I don't have the time right now. But yeah, it's cool. It's coming to Steam. I think it was on Epic before, so I guess it's like a 6 month
Oh, okay, so
exclusivity
maybe
or
six
something.
month, yeah.
But yeah, cool that they're still doing updates and stuff for it. I'm interested to see whatever they end up doing next because it was a really cool first game from those guys. So, yeah, just cool that more people are gonna get to play it now that it's on Steam. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. More people, the better. Anyways, the best news story of the entire year is this next one, and that's the fact that Helldivers 2 trailer footage leaked, and it's apparently going to be from a PlayStation showcase, which is rumored for September. We've been hearing about this for months now. Yeah, it was like 3 seconds or so published on Twitter. Definitely, I've known Helldivers 2 has been in development because, like, I think I saw on Arrowhead's like career page under development that they were working on like another co-op game with like a big, company as like the publisher, and I figured that'd be PlayStation. Yeah, Helldivers is one of the most underrated games I played on PlayStation 4. Just super fun co-op game I played with my brother. Maybe it's just nostalgic speaking. Maybe if I return back to it, I won't like it as much. But it was like such a unique experience. I loved it. So I've been waiting for Helldivers 2 for years now. So I'm super on board with this. Like, if we get a PlayStation showcase in September, when we get like some PSVR 2 news, Helldivers 2, like, yeah, like that will satisfy me a lot. So yeah, definitely really looking forward to it. That being said, the footage was very vague. Like it's just like literally like a CGI cutscene where it's like the world is in chaos and when the world needed the most, it came back or something like that. Just super generic stuff. But the main thing is just Helldivers 2 pretty much confirmed, right? So Charlie, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was an interesting one because like even though we'd heard about potentially there being a Helldivers 2, it was like one of those games I didn't really ever see it happening. Just because it's been so many years since that first one came out. I don't know, has Arrowhead done anything like since? Like I don't really.
Nothing. I don't think they've done anything since. Let me confirm that just so that we're not spewing like
Yeah.
misinformation here. But let me look them up real quick. I don't believe they have. They might have done one other game.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm on the games page here. It seems like, yeah. I mean, they've talked about how they're working on their next generation third-person co-op shooter. They never like listed Helldivers 2 by name, but they've only done updates to Helldivers since launch. Yeah, it's been, wow, 7 years since they've done a game. That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean I'm interested to see what this ends up being. Interestingly today, the guy who originally leaked this, or at least supposedly originally leaked it, posted on like Reset Era that he never meant for it to go public. He sent it to two sources in like confidence that they would keep it private, and one of them ended up leaking it online. So he was basically like, "Yeah, I'm not sending stuff to this guy again." But he was saying he got hold of it because it's part of the PS showcase for next month. So that's kind of where that bit of info came from. To be honest, when I saw the bit of footage yesterday, I assumed it was from like a PS showcase of some kind, just because it had the PlayStation Studios logo and stuff, and I don't think they've announced any like PS Studio games outside of their own events. So I think they've only ever like I don't think they've done any like blog post style announcements for anything that's part of PS Studios yet. So it makes sense that there would be a showcase relatively soon if a trailer's leaking out, right? Because they're going to be finalizing that stuff. Hopefully it's relatively soon, although I will speak about it more for the next story because I think it probably ties in a few ways. But yeah.
Okay, interesting. I have an idea of what you mean by that, but don't know for sure. Anyways, yeah, like in terms of the PlayStation Showcase, I don't really know like a concrete date, right? Like me personally, I could see it anywhere from early to late. Uh, my gut says probably like around the ninth, like you're thinking as well, like that middle time frame. Just because obviously God of War Ragnarok is coming out like in November, so I imagine they would want to give it at least like maybe 2 months, because obviously it's going to be there with like a gameplay showcase. Uh, but yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that hopefully in the weeks to come. But yeah, as Charlie was saying, this next news story was a pretty big one as well. Disney Plus Marvel Games Showcase was announced for September 9th. This happened like a week ago, so I'm trying to remember the details. But I know they confirmed that Amy Hennig's studio, that game that's like rumored to be a Marvel Ensemble game, is going to be announced there. They confirmed that. I think the rumors right now, as Charlie was saying, I think he told me this privately, it's a Fantastic Four game. That's what's rumored. I've seen people throw out Daredevil, but that wouldn't really make sense for an ensemble game. So Fantastic Four is probably what it is, unless they're somehow doing another Avengers game, which God forbid, please no. uh, yeah, that seems pretty cool. It's been a while since we've seen Fantastic Four really in any sort of way, so that'd be pretty neat. Am I forgetting anything else? I just said they're gonna like show off some like updates and stuff. I imagine Insomniac wouldn't be here because that's something that PlayStation always announces, unless that's what you mean by the tie-in, is that they would be here because maybe they'll like show it off at the PlayStation Showcase the day before or something like that. Who knows? Yeah, what was the whole tie-in thing that you're thinking?
Yeah, so it was Spider-Man. The main reason I'm thinking this is for a few things. So the first thing, the last PlayStation Showcase happened last September on the 9th. So it happened on a Thursday though. So it might happen on say the 8th, and that way it's the day before. But more likely, what I was thinking would happen is that they show off like a CG trailer for Spider-Man 2 here, and then basically say, hey, we're going to be showing off some gameplay at the PlayStation Showcase, which we already confirmed next week or something. So tune in there and you can get more details on the game and stuff like that. I think it would just make sense. Like, why wouldn't they do this? You know, I think it'd be really weird if Disney did this whole showcase and they didn't show anything from Insomniac, just because they're such a big part of the Marvel Games brand. Like on all the Marvel games, like social media and stuff, Spider-Man is basically front and center. So it'd be kind of weird if it wasn't here. Plus it's next year, so I feel like we're due to see something, and this seems like a good place to show it. I know they said that, so there's going to be more stuff for Midnight Suns, which is interesting because that got delayed. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which is an odd one because nothing DLC-wise has been confirmed. So I don't know if this is maybe going to be some like level pack stuff, which would be cool. Maybe some stuff based on like the shows and things would be nice to see. Cool. Yeah, because they did character packs. So they did like a character pass where around launch they had like a load of packs that just gave you new characters to play with, but no new levels like they normally do. So, and I know a lot of people wanted new levels, so hopefully they've done that. I'd like to see like a Rogue One pack and like a Solo pack and a Mando pack, that kind of thing. So that'd be cool. So hopefully that's what they mean by that. They also did say something about this Disney Dreamlight Valley, which I think is their weird like Animal Crossing Sims style like mobile game, but also it's on console, I think. It looks really weird. Like, yeah, that's the one thing there I don't care about. And then they've also said that they are going to be showing off this new Amy Hennig project in some way, alongside a load of other stuff. So they did confirm that Lucasfilm Games is going to be there. So I know some people were saying, like, Jedi Survivor, which I could see happening, mainly because in the teaser for the event, they did also show Avatar, which is Ubisoft. So it's possible that we also get EA here with Jedi Survivor, which again would make sense because we didn't mention it in the news, but um, Disney and Star Wars did announce that there's like a tie-in book coming out in March, which is set between the two games. So a March, May, or like April timeframe for the game seems likely. So gameplay for that would make a lot of sense. But to be honest, when they say Lucasfilm Games, it makes me think maybe we'll see some of that Indiana Jones game, or at least a proper trailer for it. Just because it's been like over a year at this point since that got announced. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's here. And I'm sure there'll be a few surprises. Maybe that Black Panther game from EA gets like a small like teaser or something. I don't know. Um, but I mean, they've announced it pretty far in advance, a few weeks in advance, so they obviously want people to get hyped about it, which is cool. This is the first time they're doing this, so um, yeah, I'm excited to see what this ends up being.
Uh, yeah, I hope we get some cool like surprises. It'd be cool to see if like there's like another Marvel game that's being in development for PSVR 2 because we got that Marvel's Iron Man VR. I'm
Mm.
not sure what that studio has done since. I don't have they done anything since Marvel's Iron Man VR. I don't think so.
That I can think of, no.
So it'd be cool if we got either a sequel to that. I never even played the first one to be honest. Like I played the demo of it, but like it was like around that time I was getting the Quest and I was like I don't want to use like this whole entire like wiry setup. Uh, so it'd be cool if like something like that was announced for like PSVR 2, but besides that, I'd be happy with just Amy Hennig's game and maybe like another look at Insomniac's next release. Insomniac will definitely show something, whether it's here at the next showcase. Just because if you think about it, like they showed off like a trailer for both Marvel Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine, like literally a few months after like Ratchet and Clank came out. So the fact that they're like been quiet for a whole year, besides I guess the PC version, which wasn't even by them, it was by Nixus. They definitely are ready to show something for sure. Whether that's both Wolverine or Marvel Spider-Man 2, I mean, it can go either way. But we've heard time and time again like yeah, that studio will always show off something even when you don't think they will. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll see them soon. That's a good probably tie-in here. I imagine, yeah, they'll probably have an event either like the next week or maybe a few days before. And yeah, whether PlayStation like says see more at Marvel or Marvel says see more at PlayStation, I could see something happening there for sure. It's interesting they revealed this like a month before the actual showcase, but I'm guessing they did that because it's at D23, right? So. Uh, Probably just worth doing because of that, but still cool nonetheless. And yeah, more news the better. Anyways, I mentioned we do have some viewer questions, and that will be for the rest of the episode here. So yeah, thank you, Arcane Shadow and Gamers Initiative for the comments and questions. So we'll pull those up now, and I know Fog in particular, a friend of the podcast, had a few questions, so we'll probably spend quite a lengthy time here. So first question is, obviously, most video game movies aren't super well received. What's a video game, not one that has a movie yet, that you think could break through and really wow audiences if done right? So, I guess Charlie, if you have one that comes to mind, a certain video game that hasn't been adapted yet that you think would make for a really well movie.
Um, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of games that I feel like could get adapted well, but they just need a lot of effort put into them. Um, I think Uncharted was a pretty decent adaptation, to be fair. Like I'm one of the
Mm-hmm.
people that thought it was okay. I don't think it
Same
wowed
here.
audiences, so I obviously not going to mention that, but no, I think that did a decent job. I think something like Alan Wake could do really well. I know they're working on like a TV show at the moment, and I
With
think
AMC, I think.
AMC picked it up.
Yeah.
So, like obviously that wouldn't get turned into a movie, but I feel like that would make for a really cool movie premise, and I think a lot of people would be interested in it because it's weird and unique and it's got like Twilight Zone vibes and that sort of thing. Like I think people would be really into that. Um, so yeah, I think that would be my pick if I was to direct a movie or something based on a game. I think it would be something like Alan Wake.
That's good. Um, First thing that came to mind for me was maybe something like Bioshock. I feel like that first game would be a really cool movie idea. Like, granted, a lot of that game works well because it is a video game. It's one of those that works because of that. But I just really love the world of Rapture and stuff like that, and just seeing that with like so much budget would be really cool in like a high featured film. Besides that, it's hard to think of ones. Obviously, like visual novels come to mind because those would be really easy to adapt. But I guess that would just be like anime, right? So I guess that's kind of cheating. Yeah, it's tough. Half-Life would be interesting, but I mean that's obviously has an issue because Gordon's silent. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I mean, they're still
interesting.
meant to be making
Honestly,
that Portal movie, but I don't know.
I'm always of the belief that I feel like I don't know. It's always weird because like the most cinematic games are always the ones that immediately get adapted, but oftentimes those ones are the hardest because they already are adapted super well in the games in a way. So like things like obviously Uncharted, while it seems like really easy to adapt that, you have the whole like issue that the games arguably did it better. Like Nolan North is just arguably so iconic that it's hard to like really do something. That's why Uncharted ended up becoming a prequel pretty much, which helped them get away from those issues. Um, yeah, I mean a lot of these are like hard to say. I feel like Red Dead would be pretty cool. Like I feel like that story would be cool, but it's hard to kind of narrow that down into like an hour and a half, right? But that like just seems like something that would be pretty cool to see. Maybe as a TV show format, I guess. Um, yeah, it's a really interesting question. A lot of these are kind of hard. Yeah, it's hard. A lot of these like obviously wouldn't make well for a game. I'm like looking through my catalog, things like Crash Bandicoot and stuff I wouldn't want. Yeah, I guess yeah. My picks are my picks, right? So I guess I'd say keep it BioShock and yeah, stuff like that would be
Well,
really cool to
Netflix are
see.
working on a Bioshock film, right? So
Yeah, they are. We talked about that like a while ago. Whether
yeah.
or not that is anywhere close, yeah. I think a lot of the ones that are currently developed by PlayStation are pretty cool. Like I think the Horizon one probably is the one I'm the most excited for, besides Last of Us, just because the fact that they're doing like a bunch of the stuff with like the lore and it doesn't seem like they're adapting just the games is pretty cool.
Mm.
God of War one I'm like a little bit hesitant on. I know it's Amazon Prime, so it'll be like a really good budget, but I don't want to just see the game readapted into into a show. Like that just doesn't appeal to me personally. But yeah, things like that would be pretty cool to see. Yeah, definitely, viewers listening, if you have any ideas for cool adaptations, let us know. It's a cool question for sure. Anyways, we'll move on to his next question. What's a superhero you would love to see a game for, and how would you do it? So I guess just like last time, you can start, Charlie. I mean, imagine this will come easier for you since you're a big comic fan.
Yeah, you say that, but like, there's so many superheroes that I would love to see like have games. Um, Initially, the one that jumps out to me is like Invincible, but I don't know how I would do it because it's such like such a cool character, but it's the same problem that Superman has of just how do you make a game about somebody that is so strong and powerful? Like it's kind of difficult. Um, so yeah, that's not my pick, just because I feel like it's too tough, and I'd have to think about it more to come up with like a proper like game design document of how to do that game. I think a really cool one you could do though, if I had to pick, would be Daredevil, and it would be a VR game. I think that's how I would do it.
Right, you totally
Mainly
took my
just
pick.
because oh, did I actually?
I was looking to say a
Um,
Daredevil VR game, funnily enough.
and it was mainly because like I feel like you could do some really cool stuff with his vision. Um, because I don't like if I was to play a Daredevil game, I wouldn't want to just be looking at the world normally like if I was playing Spider-Man or Batman, because that's not how Daredevil sees the world. But if I'm in VR in first person, if you had like if it was like a black and white tint, right, with some red, and it kind of looked like there was some echolocation stuff going on, I think that could be really cool. And I don't know if it would work for like a long game, but I know like there has been VR games that have done like the echolocation stuff with like a black and white kind of look, which is like a horror game. I can't think what it was called off the top of my head.
There was
Um,
that one. Yeah, I know what you're talking about for PSVR.
but but yeah, so I like something like that. I think would be really cool, and just being able to see when like maybe it's like almost pitch black, but you can like see noises going on, or like when enemies are moving and stuff. Like yeah, that sounds really cool to me. So I think that would be my pick. I'm sorry I stole it, Brandon. You're gonna have to come up with something else now. But yeah, that would be my pick.
That's crazy how you would pick that because I was always thinking like a Daredevil VR game would be cool. Yeah, going through like some of the superheroes here, I think Doctor Strange would be a pretty cool one, especially now that we have SSDs. You could do a lot of that portal techniques, like similar to what we saw with Rift Apart. That would be pretty cool to see. So that one comes to mind. The combat would be really interesting to see. Obviously, he's like a sorcerer, right? So it wouldn't be technically like very melee based, so it'd be kind of challenging in that aspect. I still think like Iron Man's due for like a really cool game. Like playing Anthem, as bad as that game was, like just the feeling of being like an Iron Man, like in an Iron Man like suit was really really cool when I was playing the demo for that game. And I still feel like they could do something really cool if they got like a really good developer like Crystal Dynamics or someone else behind it. Although they did, Marvel's Avengers, I guess. But I feel like a lot of that issues with like the live service aspect of that.
Did you actually see that the Just Cause people were working on an Iron Man game way
Are
back
they
when?
actually working?
No,
Are they
so they
still working on
were.
it?
Yeah, it
Okay,
got
they were.
cancelled. So it was back
Okay.
when Iron Man 3 was coming out. They were working on it. But
I still feel like
basically,
it'd be good.
the project got canned because Disney wanted them to basically make it quicker. Presumably in time to release with Iron Man 3, and they couldn't do it. But yeah, they were talking about on like the MinMax podcast. If you watch them, they basically had an interview with like the one of the co-founders from Avalanche, and they spoke about the project. Interestingly, with it, they were asking about like, oh, was it because they were prototyping a lot? They were like, oh, was it like the flying and stuff? And they were basically saying how no, like the main things they were prototyping were like making cool melee combat, and also being able to like punch people through buildings and stuff, and like yeah,
That's cool.
it sounds like when they were talking about it, it just sounds cool, and it makes sense because Just Cause was all about destruction and stuff. So
Yeah.
having that kind of game, but you're in just an Iron Man suit already sounds cool. So
And then I guess like the last pick, I feel like Captain America would be pretty cool to do as well, just because he's a very grounded character, so like that would easily work. Just like a cover based sort of like melee based game like that would be cool. Uh, yeah, honestly, those three would probably be my pick besides Daredevil. Obviously, that's like the first one that came to mind. But yeah, interesting. I know we're gonna definitely see a lot more because seems like Marvel's ramping up on a lot of games. You see them obviously doing Wolverine now with Insomniac, and they're doing this showcase, right? So yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to the next question by him, and he said, a lot of games totally shake up the industry and create a lot of inspiration for other devs. Games like The Last of Us, Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, Minecraft, and Elden Ring all shook things up for games as a whole. Are there any upcoming games that you think could do something similar? If not, what kind of game design would you like to see the industry lean towards in the near future? So, Charlie, if you want to start us off with any games you see that are currently
oh
announced that you see could shake things up, possibly.
yeah, to be honest with you, I don't. And it's because, to be honest, I don't have a good eye for that kind of stuff. And it isn't until a game really comes out that you can see, oh crap, this is something special, right? So I couldn't tell you. I will say, like, when it comes to like games design that I'd like to see the industry lean toward, there's not really like anything in particular that stands out, but an idea for a game that I've always been really interested in, and not many games have really tried it, or if they have, they've not gone to the full extent. And it's like having an open world game, but or like an RPG that has like a full like year long cycle in it. That's something I've always thought would be really cool, and no game has really ever tried it. So having like a full on like anything could happen like weather wise, and getting to winter and there's snowstorms, and just the map is completely different to traversing and stuff. It's an idea I've had for like years. I remember like when we started doing game design documents at college and stuff, that was something I was really interested in. And it's something that is so complex that I can see why it's never been done and may never be, because it is just all those systems and things I could imagine would be a ball ache to program and test. But something like that, like just taking a day-night cycle and just completely changing up how it works, I think would be really interesting. So maybe one day something like that will happen. Because obviously some games do like cool weather stuff, but it's never anything that drastically changes how you play the game, right? Like having snow on a map doesn't, like, I would like to see it affect your movement and how you get around and that sort of thing. Like I'm surprised a survival game, like a big survival game, hasn't tried something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of my game design idea. I don't know if that answers the question, but
Yeah, I think that's
I'll
good.
go with it.
Yeah, give me ideas for game development. Thank you. No, I'm kidding. But In terms of games that are currently announced that I could see shake up the industry, not many come to mind because I'm of the belief that like a lot of games right now, I mean, for good reason, are playing it safe because obviously a lot of money is being put into these games, so I understand the corporate side behind it. But at the same time, it just kind of makes things uninteresting. That being said, a few come to mind. I feel like Metroid Prime 4 could be cool. Retro always seem to. I don't think they've ever made a bad game, really. Like, not like recent memory, at least. Like, all three of the Metroid Prime games were really critically acclaimed, and then obviously the Donkey Kong Country platformer is really good. It seems like they can handle any genre, so it'd be interesting to see what kind of perspective they take in, since like so much has time has passed since the original Metroid Prime series, and Metroidvanias as a whole have kind of like expanded quite a bit since then. So I'm sure they could take lessons from the ones that have released since then. Obviously, it's a very different one if they're gonna do Metroid Prime 4. We don't even know if it will be a Metroidvania, but the original one at least was. Um, Besides that, it's tough because obviously, I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 will really do crazy much. From my personal opinion, I feel like they're gonna do the things that Breath of the Wild 1 did right, and like even if it did shake up the industry, in like what way will it? Like I don't see it having like such a big effect like the original one did. Um, I think there's like room for some pretty cool stuff at PSVR 2 games that could be announced here shortly. Obviously, VR is a very innovative place at the moment because there really isn't a standard, so a lot of new and innovating things can happen. Honestly, I think a lot of the innovating things will be out of indies just because, quite frankly, they are more allowed to take risks in that aspect since they're not, putting in a ton of money. They're not limited by like a publisher, right? But in terms of the AAA space, I think either some new VR games coming out in the next few years, especially like the PSVR 2 headset, or possibly Metroid Prime 5 or Prime 4, sorry, come to mind in terms of that. But yeah, it's kind of sad that not many come to mind. Obviously, I feel like when they do come, they're like new IPs in a way. Like that was Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild. It felt like a new IP in a way that it didn't really feel like any other Zelda game before it. So I don't see any games like that currently announced that would do that, but I hope I'm wrong. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, that answers all of Arcane Shadow's questions. So thank you. If you have any more, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below. We'll move on to the Gamers Initiative. His one's not as long. Pretty much talking about MultiVersus. So he says, curious, where do you think MultiVersus will be in regards to streaming rank? Do you think it will hit a peak and then drop off like most, or do you think it will hold up steady? Because a lot of times we see games peak really high and then fall off just as fast. Thoughts? I'm guessing when you say streaming rank, you're talking about Twitch streaming and not like, yeah, I guess that's like the only way you'd think about streaming. Uh, I think it's hit its peak just for the sole fact that like the numbers it did like weeks ago were super impressive, and I don't see like any world that they can somehow get back to that unless maybe they do like add Walter White or something like that, and like the meme just becomes so big and they get like somehow like so many players to come by. But I don't know, like those ones are always hard to pinpoint because, in the space that the multiplayer is currently right now, it's like super competitive. Only like very few survive, kind of. MultiVersus is doing pretty well. I think it is going to be one of the few that survive just because the game at its core is super fun to play. Like, even if they don't do like any content ads for like the next few months, I'd still be coming back to it just because the fighting is super fun, in my opinion. Um, and then obviously when they add like Black Adam and stuff, that will only help. And yeah. In terms of it ever like getting past it, like never say never. Like Fortnite did some like wild stuff, but like I wouldn't expect it to just because, yeah, the numbers it did already are super impressive. That's my personal belief, though. Charlie, what do you think about MultiVersus?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's already peaked. I mean, I'm looking at the Twitch stats here, and like peak viewers was on the day that open beta came out, which was 182,000, and the average for the past 7 days has been 9,165. So that's like a big drop off. Um, and to be honest, I'm never gonna see this kind of game do the same numbers as say CS or Fortnite, and that's just because it's not that same kind of audience. And I also don't think Multiverses is really a streaming game. Um, like it is a casual and competitive game. So I think you'll see those numbers boost when they do tournaments and that sort of thing, as these games normally do. But like Smash isn't in the top charts; it never is. Brawlhalla isn't, but both those games have a lot of players. Smash, there's tons of players that play that game competitively. Um, And I think MultiVersus just fits into that camp because for me personally, it's not the kind of I don't watch many streams, but it's not the kind of game I would sit and watch someone stream for a long period of time unless it was for like an event or a tournament. Um, that's just me personally. I don't think that means anything like Twitch stats mean anything for how the game is actually doing though, because I think the game's doing just fine, and I'm sure it will hold player numbers for a long time as of yet, just because it's got a decent amount of content. They're going to be adding more content. The game is fun, like it's not broken. It's currently got 34,000 people in game on Steam, so obviously that doesn't include Epic or people on console. Um, so I'd say it's doing just fine right now. Um, where that holds up in 6 months, who knows? You know, it depends on how well the devs support it. But I think the game's doing well, but streaming wise, I don't see it ever getting back to those peak numbers really.
Yeah, definitely ditto your thoughts on that. Yeah, launches are always kind of like a peak, right? Like when they do new seasons, it'll be like another peak, but the launch always has that special fact that like obviously no one's played the game before, so a bunch of people are gonna be checking out streams of it and stuff like that. So I don't think it'll go back to that, but definitely an interesting question for sure. Anyways, that wraps it up for episode 78 of Critically Incorrect. Of course, I want to thank you for making it through the whole entire episode as always. And yeah, we'll see you next week for episode 79. Take care.
See you later.